sure our sound is coming clear. I'm pretty sure it is, right? We go live in what, 2 minutes, 1 minute? Yeah, we're live now. It is a test run live. Hi everyone. We're doing a test run live for Randy's World, 3 o'clock. It's all about relationships, right? Our sound's coming through, nice and clean.
Oh, Christina's
right?
watching, yeah.
Yeah. Hi Christina, can you make a comment if you can hear the sound okay? I want to make sure we're all good on all this stuff because we're in the underground room. We make sure our Wi-Fi is working and stuff. Just anyone, throw a comment out there that you can hear me. The sound is good. It should be. Should be good. No,
Nobody's commenting on the sound yet.
is this lit up? Oh yeah, we're lit up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be good. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nobody's saying they can't hear you, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be good.
We'll just keep it
All right. Yeah, you just keep watching for a couple minutes here.
Okay.
Is it time?
Should be time. 2:59.
Okay, I'll give it another minute.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Sound is good, guys? Awesome. They're commenting, so
Okay.
we're good? Awesome. Fantastic. This should be fun.
A little low, can hear me.
Is it a little low?
A little low.
I can turn it up a little bit.
Somebody else said they can't hear you.
There we go. That'll do it. All right. That should do it really good. Hey, Ken. How are you, man? I love that dude.
Christina just said it's a little low now.
Okay. It'll be loud now. I just turned my volume up by a couple clicks. Today's going to be a fun talk. I might just sit at the end of the table. I'm not good at sitting down. So I'm just going to sit at the end here with my notes, kind of like so. And we're going to talk about how your significant other needs you more than ever right now. With the social distancing happening, wow, they need you more than ever. A crisis is about to hit when it comes to relationships. Because, man, we are people that need to be around people. And everyone is. We're social beings. And without people, we tend to get lost. And we don't tend to get better at life. It's the people around us that make you better. You want to know who you're going to be? Look at the people around you. That's who you're going to become, right? Hang out with the winners. Zig Ziglar says, you can never fly with the eagles if you're scratching with the turkeys. Get around great people. Surround yourself with them. That's why I got people like Matt and Sally and Teresa. So my wife, right? Are we looking good? Is it time?
Yeah.
Is it 3?
Yeah, 3:01.
Okay, here we go. So hi everyone, welcome to Randy's World. This is when I go live every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And today's talk is going to be about relationships again. Last week, I was out under the vines here, and we did a casual talk on relationships, and I got so much feedback saying, can you keep building upon that? So I spent the whole morning kind of writing out a new talk here, and I'm hoping to add value to your life. That's my mission in life, is to add value to other people. I would encourage you, if you don't have a personal mission statement for your life, develop one. Write it down now, because it's very hard to reach a goal without a goal. You know, I always say, like, you know, if I were to go hunting, you've got to have a goal, a target that you're going for. If I just walk up to the edge of the woods and fire a bunch of shots in the woods and say, man, I hope something runs into that, it's not going to happen. You can never hit a target unless you have a target. You must have goals in life in order to hit anything. Otherwise, we're wondering generalities rather than meaningful specifics. So, write out your goals. What is your mission? What are you all about? That way, when someone says, what's your mission in life? You can say, my mission is to add value to others. What's your mission? What's your mission to be, right? So here we go. So today's talk, it's about relationships. And I really think with what's happening in the world today with COVID, there is going to be a crisis happening when it comes to feeling connected to other people. Because the whole world is telling us to stay 6 feet away from everyone around us. That's some scary stuff, isn't it? That's going to create all kinds of challenges. And I'm telling you, your significant other, your husband, your wife, they need you now more than ever because they're losing other people that they normally were connecting with. They're not around them because they're at home, and everyone's at home, and everyone's gone in their own little worlds. And this is a problem. It's a major problem. If I sit down, Sally, am I still in the camera? If I jump here? 'Cause I might jump around a little bit. We're still good, right?
Yeah, you're still
Okay. All right. So I have a couple points I want to make today. The first one is this. Your happiness must be your chief aim in life. We're talking about relationships here. And it sounds selfish to say that your happiness must be your chief aim in life. But if it's not, whose will it be? Right? I mean, you know, don't think that you can not be happy and you can make other people happy because you can't give away something you don't have. Nobody could ever give happiness and joy to someone else unless they have it within them to give it. This right here is one of the foundational qualities of a good relationship, is that both people in the relationship understand that their chief aim in life is their own happiness. If you make you happy, then you can make the people happy around you. And like I said, don't think you can make yourself unhappy and other people happy. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. And I can go on and on about this for a long time, but the point is, you can never give away something you don't have. Find out what makes you happy and move in that direction. And you know, Tiff and I do this skit in the Couples Underground here. Welcome to the Underground Room, by the way. These are the chandeliers. This is all Tiff's idea, right? Tiff thinks of these things. These are weeping cherry trees. Tiff and I dug them out of the ground down in the valley, and then it takes about 500 hours to convert it into a chandelier. They're pretty, right? I joke and tell everyone, I think I bought every Swarovski crystal in the country. Neat, right? So Tiff and I do this skit in the Couples Underground. We go, I tell people, I make Tiff so happy. I mean, oh my gosh, I make her so happy. Just look at her. And then and I say, go ahead and tell him how happy I make you, love. And she goes, well, I don't know. I wouldn't quite put it like that. She goes, it's safe to say that you add to my happiness, but only I make me happy. And that's another rule in relationships. Only you can make you happy. The people around you can add to it, but if you're depending on someone else to make you happy, never going to happen. Never going to happen. Sometimes we fall into that trap early on in relationships. You know, because when you meet someone new, there's all kinds of this nostalgicness flying in the air. It's like magic. And you have these feelings within that you're so in love with this person. And then those chemicals that get released in your body that makes you feel this nostalgic love for the person, it tricks you into thinking that actions actually follow feelings. That's not the way it works. Feelings always follow actions. And like I said, early on in relationships, it seemed to flip itself. And I remember when Tiff and I met, oh my God, it's all I thought about 24 hours a day, all the time. You know, how could I be around her, be with her? What could I do for her? I was just filled up with it. And then you start to think that, you know, these feelings that I have is causing me the action of wanting to do all these things. Not true. Because later what happens is all those chemicals that are being released in your body to make you feel that nostalgic and love, it's going to wear off. Life is going to hit. And that's when reality sets in, and that's when the true life begins of that actions, then feelings. It's easy to understand in the physical world. In the physical world, if I swing a hammer and hit my hand, I'm never going to feel the pain until I take the action of swinging the hammer. Action, then feeling. In every single relationship is like that. The action would be being courteous, doing the dishes, taking the time to write a little note in the morning. Those things create the feelings of passion, of love, of having a sense of place. And I think that's one of the biggest things that tricks us. And it's human nature to be like that. I'm going way off track here. But your happiness should be your chief aim in life. If not, whose is it going to be? And like I said, don't think you can give it away without having it. The fact of the matter is this. If you make your happiness your primary organizing principle, you're probably never going to make a mistake again. Because you're never going to do things to please other people that later you're going to be upset that you did. And you're going to have to undo it. You know, if you Google, this is crazy. If you Google how to have a good relationship, I did this last night. I want to see what Google says. It says things like be loyal, which I agree, be committed, spend time with them, and passion was on the list. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because passion is a byproduct of everything else that you're doing. I think this is part of the challenge that we have as people. Passion is the byproduct. The sense of feeling so deeply in love. I can tell you, Tiff and I have been married for 10 years. I'm more in love with that woman today than I've ever been because I understand her better. We're doing things for each other constantly. We treat each other better than anyone else on the planet. I will always make time for her. Nothing will ever trump her in any way. I don't care what I'm doing. If she has something to say, it all stops. So passion is the byproduct of actions. It's not what makes a relationship great. It's not. Passion is not. Passion is what you're going to get by making the relationship great by what you do. Feelings follow action. So, candidness. I want to talk about being candid in relationships. Candor is different than honesty, isn't it? It's very easy to be candid. You know, within businesses, I always tell people, your corporate business, your corporate environment, you got to stay candid. Pixar is the king of this. If you ever read the book about Pixar, their corporate culture is very candid. You can just say whatever you want to say, and it's not going to offend anyone because it's not about you, it's just about the topic that we're talking about, right? So being candid in a relationship is so vitally important because I really believe a relationship, it starts out where there's no brick walls between you and your significant other. There is no wall. And what happens is, if you find yourself in a spot after 10, 20, 30 years of marriage, and all of a sudden you feel like, I don't even know this person, that wall did not get built over a period of overnight. It got built by one brick at a time. And it got built through a lack of being candid, in my opinion. It's not saying what's on your mind in any given moment. It's about not speaking the truth when you know what you need to say. It's basically walking on eggshells. Walking on eggshells is so dangerous because no one's being real. And if you're not being real, that means the other person doesn't even know who you are. Candidness says, I love you so much. I'm willing to say the things to you now that might be uncomfortable to say because I care about our relationship more than comfort. Because if you hold it in, and you hold it in and hold it in, 10 years later, you're going to scream it. It's just the way it works. Say it in the moment. But we say it in love. Tiff and I, if this stuff happens, I wouldn't say daily, but I would say every week, there's something that happens that I then go back, or she'll go back, and we'll clarify the situation. For example, here's one that happened this past week. So Tiff called me about something that she wanted to check out and do. When I read the text message that she sent to me, I thought she was checking out an auction of a business that was being auctioned off. And in the moment, like, she texts me this and she goes, should I go check it out? Should I not? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. It really makes no difference. You can go check it out if you have time to check it out. That's okay. And she called me then going, hey, what do you think? Should I do it? And I'm like, I don't really care either way. I don't have time to talk about it in depth. If you want to go check it out, go check it out. I thought she was talking about one thing. Well, later that night, she was talking about something totally different. And what she was talking about was extremely important to her. In that moment, I had to make a correction. I had to go back in time to the moment that I was talking to her, and I had to say to her, I owe you the biggest apology ever, because I didn't know what you were talking about at that moment. I would have never responded to you like that if I knew that was what you're talking about. Now that I know that, all I can do is apologize and ask for your forgiveness. And she goes, yeah, I was so hurt. I was crying in the car. I go, I get it. I wouldn't have done that. You know me well enough. And she goes, it's all good. But imagine if that little correction didn't happen and there was that misunderstanding and I was too prideful to say, I am so sorry. What can I do to make it better? I owe you the biggest apology ever. Well, what would happen is a brick would be built between us. There would be a wall would start to build. And then the next time Tiff would have something to say to me that would be important, she would think twice. She would go, well, last time he hurt me. Do I let myself be vulnerable to that pain, or do I not? And then she might not. And just like that wall starts to build. And I believe that these walls between people, the pace of building the wall starts out very slow. And as time goes on, it gets very rapid. And if we wake up one day and it's 10, 15, 20 years later, and you're living with someone that you don't even know, that's the reason. It started with little tiny things. You know, there's a saying, it says, true fact. Do you know that Earthquakes and hurricanes get all the publicity in the world, don't they? I mean, they're always on the news for all the wreckage and financial damage they cause. But did you know, on a global scale, termites cause more financial damage on a global scale than earthquakes and hurricanes combined? They just never make the news. They don't make the news because they take one bite at a time, and they never stop taking those bites. But it adds up to be so much. This is how relationships are. Everything counts. Every voice inflection, every body language, every glance, everything we say is adding up to building that relationship or tearing it down. Stay candid. Do you know that 85% of your happiness derives through relationships? 85% of your relationships. 85% of your happiness is from relationships. But also the highest paid people on the planet are relationship experts. This is a true fact. The very best communicators in the world are the highest paid people out there. They're very good at questioning and then listening. Listening is the biggest rule. And I'm talking to guys here, because generally women, ladies, they're good at listening. Guys, not so much, because guys want to solve problems. Give me a problem, I'm going to solve it. So a lot of times, Tiff, she'll want to just talk to me, and she doesn't want answers. She just wants to talk to someone. So I'm thinking in my head, all right, how can I fix this? Because I'm the fix-it guy, right? She'll give me your problem, I'll fix it, away we go, we're good. That's not what she's after. She just wants to talk. And me, man, my name is Randy. I need to get better. I'm trying to become better at this, to not be the fix-it man. Be the guy that just listens and says, I love you, thanks for talking to me. That's it, unless they ask for advice, right? A social rule. Here's a social rule. The person that asks the questions and does most of the listening is actually in charge. True statement. Because think about it. If you're watching TV, the person conducting the interview, that person is asking the questions and listening. The other person who they're interviewing, they're doing all the talking. They're not in charge. Whoever asks the questions and does the most listening is in charge of any social gathering. So as guys, I would want to challenge you to ask questions and listen, and just keep doing that. It's amazing what you can learn. Okay, another thing that I get all the time is people go, what's the key to balance, Randy? They go, you seem to be balanced. You know, you love what you do, you run down to work, you're racing around the winery all the time, and you're always, it seems like you're spending time with your kids and Tiff and so on, and you just seem to be balanced. And I always say to them, okay, what's the key to health? And they usually go, well, there is no specific key to health. You know, there isn't. It's a million things, isn't it? It's the same with balance. Balance is a million things. There is no specific key to balance. In life, the answers change. The way it works is that being balanced in life is like walking across a tightrope on a windy day. You don't just get balanced and just take a stroll. You're constantly balancing all the time because life is constantly throwing new challenges at you. You need to balance and rebalance all the time, every day. It's a never-ending process because the answers change. In life, the questions remain the same all the time. Questions are never going to change. The answers will always change. And schooling messes us up with this because schooling teaches you to study this book, and when you know the answers, you're going to take the test, and you write the answers there, and you pass the test. And if you don't know the answer, you fail the grade. That's not the way life works, because what's right for you today will definitely not be right for you 10 years from now. The answers change. And we must give our significant other, our spouses, the flexibility to change their minds. If Tiff says to me, I don't know, I used to like this, but now I like that, I go, great, that's wonderful. Because the answers change. Never ever be angry with someone for changing their mind of the way they like things or whatever it is. The answers change. Okay, we're going to talk about stress real quick. You will feel a sense of stress if the way you spend your time is not in line with your values. It's that simple. I go over that every single time I do an underground experience. I say stress is derived from a misalignment of what we say we value and how we spend our time. It is that simple. When I say stress, I'm not talking about being late for an appointment. That's like stress that, just be on time, right? But I'm talking about daily stress. If you feel stressed out in your daily life, what I would do is sit down and go, what do I value most? And how am I spending my time? If you spend your time based upon your values, your stress is gone because you've aligned your values with your time. Peace of mind will take over. I tell you, the greatest people in the world have their values and their time lined up perfectly. They spend their time based upon what they value. Because everyone has dreams and aspirations inside of them. If you spend your time moving your life in that direction, you're going to have peace of mind. If you don't, you won't. I joke with people. I say, I've lived years of my life where I'm totally out of balance, completely out of balance. I mean, I was really messed up out of balance because at a very young age, I associated making money to like feeling successful. And that's what it was. So I worked all the time. And it was like, I'd work till midnight. I'll go on a run at midnight, come back, take a shower, go to bed, get up and do it all over again. And I felt totally out of balance. The moment I thought to myself, wow, here I am, I'm out in the field, I'm working on the vines, my body's out there, but my mind's up at the house with Tiff and the kids. And then when I'm at home, I'm thinking about work. And I'm like, what's up, Randy? You're never dedicated to anything, are you? And all of a sudden it hit me. The way you spend your time is not lined with your values. It's that simple. The moment you bring those two things in line, peace of mind takes over. You're more effective at everything you do. Because you ever hear this thing called the law of the excluded alternative? This is huge. Whenever you choose to do one thing, you're unchoosing everything else. It's called the law of the excluded alternative. So, knowing this, when you choose to do something, you're unchoosing everything else in your life. What are you unchoosing to do at that moment? So whatever you're doing, say, is this the highest and best use of my time? Treat your time like money. If you treat your time like money, wow, your time becomes extremely valuable. It works like this. I tell people, when you're at work, work every minute that you're at work. Because there's the law of the excluded alternative says that hard time pushes out soft time. The hard time is your time at work. You must get the work done. If you don't get the work done at work, does the work go away? Of course not. It doesn't just go away. That means the work comes home with you, or you're going to stay there longer to get the work done. So I tell people, when you're at work every single minute you're at work. Work all the time. Get your work done in the time period that you have. Because if you're at work and you're chit-chatting with your friends and you're not getting the work done, the work doesn't go away, remember? So what you're doing at that moment is you're saying, me chit-chatting with my friends is more important than spending the time with my family at home. I'd rather be here doing this than that. I hope that's not true. But that's the decision we're making if we're doing that. There's this funny story of this little girl, and the little girl says to her mommy, she goes, Mommy, why is it that every single day when Daddy comes home from work, he brings home this briefcase and he has all this work to do at home? And Mommy says to the little girl, she goes, well, you have to understand, Daddy can't get all his work done at work, so he has to bring the work home with him to get it done. Well, the little girl looks up at her mom and says, well, why don't they put him in a slower class? People that don't get all their work done at work eventually do get put in a slower class. Work all the time you're at work. Know the law of the excluded alternative and understand that hard time pushes out soft time. Hard time is the time at work. The soft time is the time with your family. If you don't get that done, it just pushes it right out of the way. Great rule to live by. Treat your time like money. Man, treat your time like money. All right, so we talked about setting peace of mind as your highest goal. So one thing that I've learned on really early on with having a family, one thing that I did when we first had Maggie baby, Maggie is now 7 years old, right? 6 years old. I set two rules. I will only ever do two things in life: work and family. That's it. I grew up ski racing. I rollerblade. I run. I did all kinds of things that were like fun for me to be doing. The moment Tiff and I decided to have a family, I go, that's it. I will do two things: work and family. When you organize your life like that as a young family, like I'm talking in the formative years of a child's life, of a family's life, just do two things, work and family. Life becomes very simple. There's some dumb things that people do, and I almost fell prey to it, where they go, I'm going to get married, but nothing's going to change. You're right, everything changes. And then the other one is they go, we're going to have children, but we're not going to change anything. Yeah, you're right, everything's going to change. Do two things, work and family. All right, we talked about the law of the excluded alternative. I go off track on my notes a lot, guys, right? So when are you with your family? This is a great sentence. I love this. You're only with your family when you're heart to heart, knee to knee, face to face. That's when we're together. One rule that we have at our house with Tiff and I is that if we want to talk to each other, or one of the kids want to talk to us, no physical thing is ever more important than the child or Tiff. Never send a message to your children that my phone is more important than you. If your children want to speak to you, put the phone down immediately. Put the book down, put the paper down, turn the TV off. Never ever send a message that I'm sorry, this is more important than you. Right? We have that challenge of social media, don't we? That stuff is designed to make you feel closer to someone 500 miles away, but we could lose the person right in front of us in the process. Now, always put the phone down. There's a guy named Jordan Peterson. I love this guy. Jordan Peterson, he's a psychologist guy. I mean, this guy has studied life like no one I've ever met. I read one of his statements today. He said, in his practice, like he's a psychologist, right? He meets with people. He says, you must have 90 minutes a week to talk about things as a couple to keep the relationship together. If you don't, it's going to fall apart. And this is there's statistics to back this up. You got to have 90 minutes. 90 minutes. It's not that much. That's not much. I was going to break that down per minute, but I didn't do the math yet. 90 minutes per week that you're just talking about life. Because I look at a relationship like Tiff and I, we are tied together so tight that you couldn't possibly separate us without ripping us in shreds. If Tiff and I were to pull apart, there's part of me that would stick to her, and there's part of her that would stick to me, and I would never be the same again. I would lose part of who I am. There's a lot of my identification wrapped up in her. In fact, we talked about stored memory last week. I store so much information in her head, and this is one of the biggest problems with divorce. People that get divorced, you lose all the memory that you store in someone else's mind. There's so much information in her head. I can't live without it. And when you spend that 90 minutes a week talking about just things, Tiff and I tend to do it, believe it or not, when I'm in the shower. I'm in the shower, Tiff's standing out there, she's holding Natalie, and we're just talking. We're just talking about life. We're talking about the week, talking about things that are going on. And what we're doing there is we're weaving our lives together very tight so we know exactly what's going on. So we could not possibly separate the two. I become her, she becomes me. I would encourage you all, if you're in a relationship, you're married, have the same bank accounts, have the same everything. Blend your lives together so tight that you could not possibly pull it apart without total destruction happening. Be committed on every level because you already are. It's the way it works. You can't keep relationships going with splatter shots throughout the day. I said it last week, there's no such thing as an efficient relationship. In business, we always talk about efficiency. In relationships, you cannot have an efficient relationship. It does not exist. Because the fact of the matter is, how does your wife, how does your husband, how does your children, how does everyone you love, how do they spell the word love? I can tell you, every single one of them spells it T-I-M-E. Period. It's time together that counts. You got to spend it to get it. If you don't, you won't. It's that simple. So tips, here we go. Have dinner together. Everyone knows that. Tiff and I take a walk almost daily. We go out, take a walk around the winery, we're walking down the driveway, whatever. Take a walk. When you're in the car with someone, turn the radio off. When you turn the radio off in your car, a vacuum gets created in your car. You're going to have to fill the space with something. Conversations will come alive. You'll be amazed the conversations you have in a car if you do not turn the radio on. You can ask Tiff this. I don't think I've turned the radio on in our car in 10 years. I don't even know how to turn it on, to be honest. A vacuum gets created. Turn the radio off. Don't listen to music. Talk to each other. Because when you're in a car, what else are you doing, right? Your life will only get better when you get better. We can only improve our outside world if we improve our inside world. This is why I say to you, make your happiness your organizing principle in your life. When you do that, you can then make other people happy around you. There's no other way for your outer world to improve than for your inner world to improve. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It just matters where you're going in every area of life. It does not matter where you're coming from. It matters where you're going. And you know, I believe we should never criticize anyone for something that they cannot change. This applies to children, our spouses. Never, ever, 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 ever criticize something about someone they can't change. And what falls in that category is everyone's past. 2 minutes ago falls in that category for me. I can't change it. I can't change the past. I can only change the future. Nobody can rewrite the start, but you can rewrite the finish line now, right? I want to show you something. This is you're gonna like this. This is great stuff. So this is a recipe book for the perfect cake. You ready? This is great stuff. The perfect cake. Look at this. This is the prettiest cake, isn't it? And this is the recipe book for the cake. And it says this. It says, here are the key things you should do. You should keep in mind to bake a cake successfully. Ensure all ingredients are at room temperature. This helps make sure everything is incorporated. Basically, this cookbook, this little cake cookbook, it's basically saying that if you follow these instructions, it guarantees you're going to get this. It's saying, do this for that. Okay? That's the way cookbooks work, isn't it? And you know, I want to relate this to relationships. Because, wow, every single person that gets married had an image in their head. They had an image. They had an image like this. They had an image of what a relationship is going to be like, and what the family is going to look like, and how it's going to be. You wouldn't get married to someone if you did not think it's going to be spectacular, and you have an image in your head. Just like the cookbook, we got these images. But just like the cookbook, there's ingredients that you have to have. You'll never get this if you don't follow the ingredient list. Every single relationship has an ingredient list of things that you must do in order to get the outcome. People later in life, they get married, and then, you know, the divorce rates are things like 50% right now in the country. And they go, I don't know what happened. And I can always say it's because the ingredients either weren't the right ingredients, or you forgot something here and there, or you didn't have enough of whatever you needed to have in there. And there's some ingredients that everyone has to have. You have to have respect. You have to have honesty. You have to have dedication. You have to have trust. If you don't have those, well, good luck. It's just not going to work. But there's other things you got to have, depending on the person's needs. This is where that saying comes true. Know yourself. You can't improve on something you don't understand. Well, if you know yourself and you know what makes you happy and you know who you are, you then can tell your significant other who you are. You can say, you know what I like? I like this, 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 and this. These are the things that make me feel loved. And then they can go, wow, that's great. This is what I like. And then now you understand them, they understand you. These things are called bids. Dr. Gottman says this. When we communicate crystal clear, there's no reason to read minds. And I don't think we should ever have to read minds in relationships. Just say it the way it is. So I'm hoping I added value to your life today. I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. I try to keep it short and sweet. Can I end on one thing? Let's end on let's end on the word empathy. Okay? It's in my ingredient list for my cookbook. In order to cook this up, this is part of my ingredient list. So empathy. Empathy is I think empathy is higher than intellect. If you have empathy for someone else, you have a sense of awareness. You can sense and feel what they're feeling, and you can connect with them, and then you can help them through whatever it is. That's empathy. Empathy is not taking on the feelings of another person. That is not empathy at all. Empathy is connecting and saying, I can understand what you're going through. Let me help you. That's empathy. And by the way, empathy and yawning have been proven to be connected. Do you know that? It's a neat study. I forget what university did it, but you know how you see someone yawn and then you yawn? Well, you took on their feelings and then you yawn. So if you yawn when you see someone yawn, you're more prone to have empathy. I think the happiest, most successful people on the planet have great empathy. Empathy is something that can be developed. I don't think we're born with tremendous amount of empathy. I'm trying to teach Maggie and Joseph right now to understand the world through other people's eyes. What are they going through? What's the other person seeing? How are they feeling right now? And then how can you relate to that and then help them through it? That's the end. The last word I want to end this with is empathy. So, I wish you the best, the very best relationships ever. This is something we can always get better at because, you can never know someone perfectly. I know Tiff better and better every day, at least every week. May not be every day, every week. And I'm hoping that in 10 years from now, I'm standing here again and I'm telling you how wonderful life is because I hope to know we're even better 10 years from now. Thanks for being part of my life, guys. I love doing this. It's really fun. I enjoy it. You make life possible. I can never say that enough to you all. You make life possible. I'm so grateful. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for being here. Thanks.